Welcome to the 2021 State of Security Operations video series, where we cover insights from the new State of Security Operations report, available at www.cyberres.com/stateofsecops. The report offers a snapshot of global security operations in 2021, pulling from the experiences of over 500 security operations executives and decision makers. Over the course of this series, we'll be interviewing C-level SecOps experts from CyberRes who contributed to the report. This week, we'll be interviewing CyberRes's Chief Security Strategist for North America, Stan Wisseman. Having been in the information security field for over 30 years, Stan has extensive experience applying security best practices to operating systems, networks, software, and organizations. Before his current position, Stan served as the Chief Information Security Officer for Fannie Mae. He has also worked in various roles for the NSA, Oracle, Cable and Wireless, Cigital, and Booz Allen Hamilton. Stan holds a master's in engineering management from Santa Clara University and a bachelor's in computer science from Texas A&M. When he's not working with customers to find the best cybersecurity solutions, you can find him enjoying the hiking trails in and around Northern Virginia. I've had the pleasure of working with Stan for a number of years now and have a lot of respect for his expertise in the industry. So thank you for joining us, Stan.
It's good to be here, Preston. And those degrees seem so long ago.
So to kick us off, I'd like to start by asking what stood out to you the most in the report?
Well, perhaps it's top of mind to me because I, just finished interviewing somebody for Security Awareness Month. This lady who's in charge of the NICE program at NIST. And, we were talking about the shortage of resources in cybersecurity. And it struck me that 97% of the survey respondents in the report indicated that they needed additional skilled staff for the security operations centers. And then 92% of the organizations are outsourcing portions of their SecOps functions. And those are pretty telling statistics about how hard it is to staff and to operate a functional SOC.
Thanks. Now, a lot has happened over the past year with multiple major breaches that have shaken the cybersecurity industry and rapid transformations brought on by COVID-19. So what are some of the biggest changes you've seen happen in security operations during the past year? And how do you expect that they'll impact SecOps teams going forward?
Yeah, well, the impact of the pandemic and those in the SOC and their assets for being able to monitor what they need to has been huge. Monitoring endpoints, and in many cases, these endpoints were personal devices as opposed to company-controlled assets, became a top priority overnight with the pandemic hit. Businesses pushed the accelerator down on adoption of cloud services, and I really don't think these kind of changes are transitory. I do believe that remote work and acceleration of cloud usage is permanent. And SOCs are going to have to be monitoring these hybrid kind of environments for the foreseeable future. And you mentioned the attacks. The bad actors, unfortunately, didn't give anybody a break during COVID, and they took advantage of the situation. And they are also taking advantage of more advanced technology and techniques like leveraging vendors' software supply chains as a way of infiltrating organizations. Ransomware is an epidemic, and everyone with a weakness as a target. And most of the SOCs are really challenged to keep up with this kind of onslaught. So, CISOs are attempting to leverage advanced technologies to give them a leg up against these attacks, but at the same time, they're trying to consolidate their tooling and simplify, as well as improve their process workflow. So those are some of the things that I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned the remote work, and one of your comments within the report had to do with remote work for security operations teams themselves, not just organizations branching out more to that remote work, but the teams themselves working remote, and that potential growth of remote security operations center. So can you share that thought here as well, and what you think it will mean for security operations?
Sure. Yes. I mean, SOCs had to pivot quickly to work on remote like everybody else did. And while everyone is still out, working out the details as far as what the return to work looks like, I think the consensus overall is the same, that the pandemic has forever changed how and where we work. And at first glance, it's easy to sort of assume that a highly collaborative kind of role, like a SOC analyst, will return back on-prem to their SOCs that they were doing before the pandemics. I mean, after all, we sort of rely on those physical infrastructures, and we built these purpose-built centers for them to do this. And there's a lot of person collaboration that goes on in the SOC. But I think, COVID has forced many of the SecOps teams to do their threat detection and response completely remote in these last few months, right? And it's pretty much worked. I mean, it had to. And as the months have passed, I think SecOps leaders have been learning that virtually everything they can do and they needed to do could get accomplished remotely. And as many companies are planning their post-COVID-19 workforce, I expect that they'll continue to go with a hybrid or remote security operations center approach. And that sort of mirrors the pattern, what we're seeing in the workforce at large. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't challenges. I mean, you'll have to overcome in this kind of model. And, being able to respond quickly and collaborating with other analysts is essential in a SOC. I mean, any kind of confusion or miscommunication or could result in a breach or increase the impact of an incident, like the successful deployment of ransomware if you didn't detect it quick enough or act fast enough. And so because a lot of communication hinges on interpersonal relationships, in addition to proper collaborative tooling that needs to be in place, I think leaders should focus on trying to build a culture and relationships for their remote SOC personnel and their teams. There's no substitute for getting to know someone in person. And even if you have a remote SOC or some kind of hybrid, I do think that having occasional in-person gatherings to build that culture is going to be important.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see how that changes over the upcoming year as well.
Yeah.
So as a side question to that, do you think that the shift to remote SOCs will help or hurt the ongoing talent war in the industry?
I think it's going to help. With remote teams, I think SecOps no longer needs to select the best person for a position based on a geolocation. But they can look for the best person overall. That can increase a company's overall cybersecurity posture and capabilities within the SOC. How you do interviews, and just you can do video interviews, and the SecOps team can more quickly fill positions in theory. This also allows you to set up interviews with candidates, with team members, to best assess their technical skills more effectively too. And it doesn't matter where the person is sitting. I mean, it could be in your geo, in your local area, or it could be somebody across the country.
Yeah, great. Well, hopefully that will provide some more relief then to that talent war. And what else do you think that SOCs can do to bolster their teams and increase their efficiency to combat that skills gap?
Well, I mentioned the outsourcing that's going on, and I again, 92% of those surveyed were outsourcing some functions, and that'll continue, right? Partly as a way of filling skills gaps. I think automating, responses or playbooks for known threats with SOAR-like capabilities can help with the volume of attacks. As the survey results show, I think that the use of AI-based technologies can help put a spotlight on high-risk behaviors, and it can reduce the amount of specific knowledge each analyst requires. But I think one of the most significant ways to improve efficiency is to adopt a framework like the MITRE ATT&CK framework. While the survey shows that the classic Lockheed Martin kill chain still continues to be broadly used, I was pleased to see that the MITRE ATT&CK was a close second to the kill chain, because I believe that applied appropriately, ATT&CK helps analysts and the tooling you're using in the SOC focus on the tactics and techniques that are most relevant.
Great, thank you. Yeah, well, the report also discussed expanding SOC workloads to cloud and hybrid environments. So what are your thoughts about that finding, and was it surprising to you? What do you think it means for SOCs going forward?
Well, I do think that SOC security processes are being integrated with cloud native tools to drive visibility, detection, and response. I mean, we're seeing a big push for that, and the survey results will reflect that. I expect this will increase. It helps keeps costs down, helps the teams be agile, and provide more faster time to value, especially as the business is shifting their workloads to the cloud as well. So that is one of the things that I think the the security teams are a bit of a lag to the business. The business has gone there, so the security teams have to go there as well.
Got it. Great. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That's all the questions that we have. So thanks again to everyone that's been watching this. And again, you can download the report from www.cyberres.com/stateofsecops. And then lastly, thank you again, Stan, for joining us today.
Great. It's great to be here. Thank you, Preston.
Okay.